Immigration now is a national issue. People in middle America are talking about immigration, and it's an issue that we're dealing with today.
Nosotros somos las personas, tenemos el poder. Power to the people. America, hey!
Immigration and a second chance after incarceration is at the center of my exclusive conversation with criminal defense immigration attorney Shan Potts. I'm Michael Reel, and this is ReelUrbanNews.com. We are in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, where immigration is on everybody's mind. Attorney Shan Potts, you have been on the forefront of criminal defense and immigration as an attorney here in Southern California. Talk about your journey.
Well, the journey has been an interesting journey. I've been doing this for perhaps 20 years. In law school, I was working in a nonprofit assisting the immigrant community, and then I decided that this is what I wanted to do. But it's been a very, very interesting journey. Essentially, I chose this work because it was the ability to connect with people. And in doing this work over so many years, I realized that there are issues that kind of affect all of us, the immigrants and the non-immigrants, especially in this city of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles is a melting pot, that's how it's described. And we have a lot of immigration issues here. You've been on the forefront of those immigration issues. When did it begin to resonate with you as a practicing attorney that this area of law would be where it is today?
I realized this quite a while ago, and in particular when Mayor Eric Garcetti was running for office, we had the opportunity to have this conversation. And what I made clear was that this issue had to be an issue that the city addressed, because it's a city of immigrants, and it affects every other area of the city. It affects black and brown people. It affects our employment base, and this is an area that we all need to be interested in. Immigration now is a national issue. People in middle America are talking about immigration, and it's an issue that we're dealing with today. It's actually an international issue. It's an issue which Donald Trump led his presidential campaign. That was his primary focus. And now I'm dealing with that issue in the courts, fighting on the forefront, trying to protect individuals and give them opportunities as they move forward.
From a layman's perspective, what is an immigration attorney?
An immigration attorney is an attorney who speaks for the immigrant community, for all those non-citizens who are in the United States, whether in whatever capacity, whether or not they're visiting, whether or not they're permanent residents here, or whether or not they're undocumented. We speak for them. And we speak for them on issues concerning immigration, about their status in the United States. We also speak to them about other issues concerning criminal issues, concerning other legal issues that they may have. Sometimes I'm the only attorney that they know, and so I become like a reference point for them to help to guide them to answer their legal questions, and sometimes just questions that how to navigate in a new world, a new society.
We were discussing off camera about your practice and how it's twofold. It's criminal defense and it's immigration. Recently, you had to kind of combine the both of them with the criminal defense and the immigration. Talk about that.
Well, traditionally, just addressing the immigration issues, representing individuals in removal proceedings, the criminal defense issue was not prominent. And then it became obvious that I had to address that issue, because many people who are facing peril in their immigration question, it's because of criminal history. And so I end up addressing that for my clients and also for my colleagues. Essentially, I assist my clients and the immigrant community to address the criminal issues, to help them to challenge the legality or the constitutionality of their criminal history, to try to give them a pathway to solve their problems.
Although persons who have criminal history are removed, they come back, and middle America is frightened by them.
Well, In immigration, when we use the word remove, we're talking about people who are removable and those people who are removed. That is an issue that we have to get our hands on. That's an issue that we have to come to grips with. If we remove people, there needs to be some sort of guarantee that they will not re-enter the United States unlawfully. And we have to come to terms with that. And we have to prioritize our immigration policy and decide which people are we going to remove and how we're going to address the remaining 13 or more million people. There will be strong enforcement policies, strong removal policies, and it all is going to tie around the issue of criminality in immigration. But when we talk about criminality in immigration, we're really talking about just one small segment of the immigration conversation. That's the issue I deal with in my practice. The larger question is, what are we going to do with all the tens of millions of other persons who are in this situation, who are undocumented, who have no voice? That's an issue that resonates with me as an African American, because we've addressed that issue in our history of having a voice, being heard, not having to come in through the back door. You know, right now we have people who are working, they're being exploited with wages. It's disenfranchising other minority communities because people are competing against low wages. So we have to regulate this. We have to make sure everyone is documented. There's a fair competition for wages with the African American community, with the working class white community. We have to address this issue. So the immigration question, immigration reform, is not just an immigration question, it's an American question. It's how we get control over our society, our economics, and our security.
We hear the term sanctuary city, and it sounds like it's a safe zone.
Mm-hmm.
What is a sanctuary city?
Well, I imagine it means many things to many people, but in places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, I imagine some places on the East Coast of New York, where you have large immigrant populations, the society has decided that we need to protect and make sure that these individuals are fairly represented. And so where the federal government has failed to address the immigration question, you have cities who have taken a closer look as to how they're going to protect their citizenship, how they're going to provide, how they're going to address the issue of immigrants. Are they going to turn them over to federal authorities? Are they going to split up families? Are they going to take a responsible role to deal with this question? So that's what a sanctuary city is. In Los Angeles, the way it's kind of played out, at least in the criminal justice system, people who get picked up for minor things, jaywalking, or just simply not having any documents, there was a policy in Los Angeles to not turn them over to federal authorities, not to split families. I've had situations where I'll have a family, well, the spouse will call me up and say her husband didn't show up. He left for work at 8 a.m. and didn't show up. Or children, teenage children, say their parents never showed up from work. And so now we have these children and their parents are somewhere in a detention facility. So we're just trying to find a humane way to address this problem and not split up families.
It sounds painful.
It's extremely painful.
You can hear 13-year-old Fatima Avelika sobbing as she recorded this video of ICE officers picking up her father, who is undocumented. Her father, Romulo Avelika Gonzalez, has been in this country for 20 years. Fatima is one of 4 children, 2 of which are grown. The ICE officials wearing police jackets took the 48-year-old father into custody as he dropped his girls off at school in Highland Park 2 days ago.
One of the things that I would say I discovered in doing this work, I've discovered more about myself than my clients. There's a certain degree of vulnerability, a certain thing, a humanity that you have to tap into to be able to hear someone else's pain, to actually fight and get up and advocate for them. There's a certain amount of pain, but that pain is the pain that makes you fight. It's the pain that makes you an advocate. And so, as an attorney, none of us looks forward to relish in pain. But that anguish is something that makes you fight for what you believe is right.
Are you surprised that people around the country and even around the world are responding to the immigration challenges that we have here in Los Angeles and other urban centers around our country?
I'm not surprised at all. This issue has long been an issue in Europe. Europe has dealt with immigration for decades, and so have we, but it just hasn't been on the forefront of the most current conversations, and it is now. There's a wave of populism that's spreading across the globe. Donald Trump, his election is kind of a reflection of that, and that's taking place across the globe, where you have the dominant society is feeling disenfranchised because of the influx of immigrants, and you have the immigrant populations who are looking for their place in the world, their place in the society. So you're kind of, these two worlds are kind of clashing, and we have to resolve this. Mm-hmm. We have to resolve it, because we don't resolve it, our history tells us that it can take us to some very, very dark places.
In an effort to deal with some of the criminality aspect of immigration law, you have started a brand new website entitled thebetterstart.com, changing the focus of your current practice just a little bit. Talk about that.
Yes, what I've done is I haven't changed the focus of my practice, but I'm trying to reach many more people and make this this type of legal practice known to people, because many people don't know that this is even possible. What thebetterstart.com is, it's an online legal service, and we help people address when they have criminal convictions, what their options are, whether or not it's possible to eliminate those criminal convictions or modify those criminal convictions so they have relief when it comes to immigration. Many of my clients aren't immigrants. Many of my clients are just individuals who happen to run afoul of the law. They have this ban-the-box legislation that's sweeping across the country, where people will go to jail and they get out. They can't get a second start because they are stigmatized by their criminal record.
And that definitely here in the States has really hurt the African American community, particularly black men.
Definitely, definitely. What I found very promising is that our past president, President Barack Obama, along with a bipartisan Congress, had agreed to look at the issue of criminal justice reform, look at the issue of unfair sentencing, and seeing how we're going to deal with this issue. When individuals reemerge from the prisons, how they're going to reintegrate into society. And so we have to address those issues. In my practice, in the Better Start, I'm giving citizens and both non-citizens the opportunity to look at their past criminal history and to see whether or not there are opportunities to either eliminate the criminal history, certificates of rehabilitation, or address whether or not the conviction was even constitutional. It's a way to give a person a second chance. It's a way to give a person options where they felt they had no options. And I think that's the conversation that hasn't been had. Like, okay, now what do I do? Okay, I've fallen down. How do I get back? How do I rehabilitate myself? How do I redeem myself? That's the conversation that I'm having with my clients, and I want to spread that message through the Better Start.
So what should a defendant or someone released from prison for a misdemeanor or a felony, what should their first 2 or 3 steps be in an effort to rehabilitate their name and their status in society?
My philosophy with everything I do is that everything starts with the self. You first have to stand in the direction that you want to go, and then once you realize that, and once you realize I want to go in that direction, then you take the necessary steps to resolve your situation. You empower yourself. At thebetterstart.com, what we do is we allow a person to come on our website, take an eligibility test, and at that moment I can see whether or not there's an opportunity to further the conversation. And then we'll explore what opportunities there are to address that conviction, to either eliminate that conviction, get a real certificate of rehabilitation, or challenge the constitutionality of that conviction.
Discussing a better start. How does that play in such an urban center like Los Angeles?
The Better Start helps me to bring the message out to so many more people. We're in this great city. This is a city of immigrants. This is a community for all of us. And what the Better Start does is it allows me to speak to our community to let them know, yes, there is something you can do if you have a criminal history. There's a way that you can have it to readdress, to see whether or not you can eliminate it, avoid the negative immigration consequences, or just simply getting a job. The Better Start is a starting place to see, now what can I do? What can I do to have a better start?
As we prepare to close, what's your hope for immigration moving forward in the 21st century?
I hope that our country can come together and create and to agree upon immigration reform, to reform the system, to deal with the pressing issues, a removal of those individuals who should be removed, documenting the immigrants who should be documented, and addressing national security. It has to be a comprehensive conversation, and that's what I hope our country does. And I'm trying to do my part so those people who probably have made mistakes, they can get a second chance and to have the opportunity, a fair opportunity, to be a part of our great society here. We are a nation of immigrants.
Attorney Shan Potts, thank you for this comprehensive conversation.
Thank you.